That was the moment everything shattered. The moment his words hung in the air like smoke from a fire we'd all been pretending wasn't burning. But to understand why tears streamed down faces that had once sneered or turned away, you have to go back to the summer I turned 18, when the world I knew cracked open like a fault line in the heartland. My name is Elijah Harper, and I grew up in Elmwood, Illinois, a speck on the map where cornfields stretch like endless golden regrets under skies too big for small dreams. It was the kind of town where Friday nights meant high school football under floodlights, and Sundays were for potlucks at First Baptist, where the preacher's sermons on family values landed like haymakers. Dad was the rock of it all. Harlan Harper, the stoic auto mechanic with calloused hands that could rebuild an engine blindfolded. The man who raised me single-handed after Mom died in a car wreck when I was 6. He was salt-of-the-earth American, the kind of guy who flew the flag on the 4th of July and believed in pulling yourself up by your bootstraps. No excuses. I idolized him. Hell, I still do, in the twisted way you love a storm even when it uproots everything. But loving him meant burying parts of myself deep, like seeds you hope never sprout. I was the good son, straight A student, quarterback on the varsity team, the kid who mowed lawns for extra cash and volunteered at the VFW hall, reading letters from deployed soldiers to the veterans. Folks called me the golden boy, and I wore that crown like armor, because underneath it, I was terrified of what they'd find if it slipped. It started slipping junior year, in the locker room after a game against Riverton. We'd crushed them 28-7, and the adrenaline was electric, buzzing like the fluorescent lights overhead. Showers ran hot, steam curling up like ghosts, and there was Jake Riley, broad-shouldered farm kid with freckles across his nose and a laugh that cut through the chaos. He slapped my back, water sluicing down his chest, and said, "Hell of a throw, Eli. You're unstoppable." His eyes lingered a beat too long, or maybe it was mine that did. I felt it then, that pull, like gravity shifting under my feet. I mumbled something about the win and bolted to my towel, heart pounding harder than during the fourth-quarter drive. That night, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling fan whirring lazy circles, the guilt gnawing like termites in old wood. This isn't you, I told myself. You're not like that. But the dreams came anyway, feverish flashes of hands on skin, breaths mingling in the dark. I woke up sweating, praying silent pleas to a God who felt distant as the stars over the fields. By senior year, I couldn't outrun it. I'd started sneaking glances at guys in the hallways, fabricating reasons to linger in the weight room. And then Oliver came along, like a plot twist in a John Grisham novel, unassuming, inevitable, and bound to upend everything. He transferred in from Chicago after his folks split. His mom got a job at the community college library, and suddenly there he was in AP Lit, slouched in the back row with a battered copy of The Great Gatsby dog-eared to hell. Oliver Hayes, lanky frame, sandy blonde hair that fell into his eyes like he didn't care enough to push it back, and a smile that hit like contraband moonshine, sharp, illicit, warming you from the inside out. He quoted Whitman in class, voice low and steady, like he was sharing a secret with the room. "I am large, I contain multitudes," he'd say, and I'd feel exposed, like he could see the multitudes warring inside me. We bonded over late-night study sessions at the diner on Route 34, nursing bottomless coffees and debating whether Gatsby's green light was hope or just a fool's mirage. Oliver was out, casually, unapologetically. "I'm gay," he'd said one night, matter of fact, like ordering fries. "Always have been. Figured it out in middle school when the Jonas Brothers posters weren't doing it for me." He laughed, but his eyes held a shadow, stories from the city he didn't unpack. Chicago was a world away from Elmwood's narrow lanes, where rainbow flags were as rare as vegan options at the county fair. I envied his ease, that armor forged in urban fires. "Must be nice," I muttered, tracing condensation on my glass. "Just owning it." He leaned in, elbows on the sticky Formica table, green eyes pinning me. "It's not nice, Eli. It's survival. But it's mine." That was the first crack in my facade, the way his gaze stripped me bare, daring me to step through. Summer after graduation sealed it. Elmwood's heat wave turned the air syrupy, fireflies winking like conspirators in the dusk. Oliver and I ended up at Lake Harlan, my secret spot, a forgotten cove where the water lapped lazy against mossy rocks. We ditched a bonfire party, claiming headaches from the bonfire smoke. But really, it was the press of bodies, the heteronormative haze of it all, that choked us. We stripped to our shorts and dove in, the cold shock yanking a whoop from my throat. Surfacing, I treaded water, Oliver's silhouette dark against the moon-silvered surface. "Race you to the buoy," he challenged, and we stroked out, competitive and alive. I won by a nose, grabbing the weathered float, but he tackled me from behind, laughter bubbling up as we sank, limbs tangling in the murk. When we broke free, gasping, his hand lingered on my shoulder, thumb brushing my collarbone. Time stretched, the world narrowing to the drip of water from his lashes, the hitch in his breath. "Eli," he whispered, and it was a question, a plea. I kissed him there, in the shallows, tasting lake water and possibility. It was clumsy, desperate, teeth clacking, noses bumping, but it ignited something feral and true. We stumbled to shore, collapsing on the pebbled bank, hands exploring with the reverence of explorers charting unknown lands. No words, just the symphony of crickets and our ragged breaths, the universe conspiring in that stolen hour. But secrets in Elmwood are like weeds. They choke if you don't uproot them fast. Dad found out 2 weeks later. I'd come home late from helping Oliver with his truck, lips still swollen, shirt untucked. He was in the kitchen, nursing a Budweiser, the TV droning infomercials. His eyes narrowed, that mechanic's gaze spotting the flaw in the engine. "You're glowing, son," he said, voice flat as a dead battery. "Like your ma used to, after dates." I froze, fork midway to my mouth from a cold plate of meatloaf. "It's nothing, Dad. Just friends." He set the bottle down, deliberate. "I saw you two at the lake last night. From the road. Looked like more than friends." The world tilted. Shame flooded hot, then cold. Ice in my veins. "Dad, I don't." He stood, chair scraping like an accusation. "This ain't you, Elijah. This is some devil's trick, some city poison he brought here. We'll fix it. Church camp next week. Pastor'll know what to do. Fix it." Like I was a busted carburetor, a dented fender. I wanted to scream that this was me, raw and real, but the words lodged like gravel. Instead, I nodded, tears blurring the linoleum, because losing him felt like losing gravity. Church camp was held disguised as hymns. 3 days in the Wisconsin woods, surrounded by kids my age chanting prayers against the unnatural urges. Pastor Reynolds, with his fire and brimstone beard, pulled me aside each night for counseling. "Resist the enemy, boy," he'd thunder, Bible open to Leviticus like a verdict. We prayed over me, hands heavy on my shoulders, voices rising in exorcism-light fervor. I faked the tears, the repentant nods, but inside, Oliver's kiss burned like a brand, unerasable. Dad picked me up Sunday, eyes hopeful as a rebuilt transmission. "Better?" he asked, clapping my knee. "Yeah, Dad." I lied, staring out at the blurring pines. "All fixed, but lies fester." Oliver noticed the distance when school started. Community college for me, nursing program. Him studying graphic design online, working shifts at the hardware store. "What's eating you, Eli?" he'd press during our stolen moments in his beat-up Civic, parked on back roads where corn hit us from prying eyes. "Family stuff." I'd deflect, kissing him harder to drown the guilt. Our love deepened in fragments. Mixtapes of The National and Bon Iver slipped into glove compartments, notes folded into lunch bags, nights when he'd drive us to the Illinois border, just to breathe freer air. Oliver was my anchor, patient as Lake Michigan's waves, whispering, "You're enough, just as you are," when doubts crashed in. Yet Dad's fix lingered like exhaust fumes. He'd grill me about girls at church, set up awkward coffee dates with deacons' daughters who giggled at my jokes, but left me hollow. "See? That's normal," he'd say, pride flickering like a faulty bulb. I played along, the golden boy tarnished but shining, all while my heart cartwheeled for the boy with the artist's hands and the soul of a poet. The first real fracture came Thanksgiving, junior year of college. I transferred to the University of Illinois in Champaign, a 2-hour drive that felt like freedom's threshold. Oliver followed, enrolling in the same art program. Our tiny apartment a sanctuary of thrift store furniture and posters of Basquiat and Shepard Fairey. We cooked turkey with cranberry relish from a can, laughing over burnt pies, his head on my shoulder as we watched It's a Wonderful Life. Irony thick as the gravy. But Dad insisted I come home. Family tradition, he growled over the phone. Oliver understood, kissing me goodbye at the Greyhound station. Tell him, Eli, or I will for us. Elmwood welcomed me with open arms and closed minds. The holiday was a parade of aunts pinching cheeks, uncles slapping backs, the scent of sage stuffing masking the tension. Dad pulled me aside after grace, his flannel shirt starched stiff. Seeing anyone special? His eyes searched, hopeful. I swallowed the truth. Not really. Busy with classes. He nodded, but disappointment shadowed his face. That night, as snow dusted the fields, I overheard him on the phone with Pastor Reynolds. He's slipping again, Mark. That boy's influence. I need stronger measures. My blood ran cold. Slipping. Influence. Me, reduced to a symptom. I confronted him in the garage next morning, tools scattered like battlefield debris. Dad, stop. Oliver's not the problem. I am. I'm gay, and I love him. The wrench slipped from his hand, clanging against concrete. His face crumpled. Not rage, but something worse. Betrayal, like I'd handed him a death sentence. No, son. You're confused. We'll get you help. Real help. Real Help was a clinic in Peoria, recommended by the pastor. A reparative therapy center, all soft lighting and sympathetic counselors who spoke in coded compassion. We're here to align your affections with God's design, Dr. Ellis said. Her smile practiced as a sales pitch. Sessions blurred into a nightmare of talk therapy laced with scripture, exercises to redirect attractions, staring at photos of women until my eyes burned, journaling sins that felt like confessions from someone else's life. I went for Dad, each drive back to Champaign a heavier load. Oliver waited with open arms, but the poison seeped in. This is killing you, he said one night, tracing the dark circles under my eyes. We fight this together, or not at all. But fighting meant risking Dad's heart. He'd had a mild stroke the year before, stress from the shop's lean times. I can't break him, I whispered, tears soaking Oliver's shirt. He's all I have left of her. Oliver held me tighter. You have me, and you're breaking yourself. The betrayal came swift as a Midwestern squall. Spring break. I left my laptop open in the apartment. Innocent, a Google Doc of love letters I'd written to Oliver, raw verses pouring out my soul. Dad showed up unannounced, surprise visit, to bond over basketball on TV. He wandered in while I grabbed takeout, and there it was, my words, exposed. He didn't yell. He sat on the couch, document printing in staccato bursts from our ancient printer, pages curling like accusations. When I returned with lo mein, his face was ash. This filth. With him. Dad, you're throwing your life away. His voice broke, fist slamming the coffee table. I raised you better. This ends now. He stormed out, but not before emailing the file to Pastor Reynolds for prayer support. By Monday, whispers rippled through Elmwood's evangelical grapevine. My old teammates texted side-eye emojis. Church friends unfollowed on Facebook. Oliver shielded me, but the damage festered. He's trying to save you, Oliver said bitterly. But he's drowning us both. I pulled away, not from Oliver, but from Dad's orbit. No calls, no visits. The silence stretched months, a chasm widening with each unanswered voicemail. Son, I'm sorry. Let's talk. But sorry didn't undo the exposure. The shame splashed across family group chats like oil on water. Then came the proposal. 4th of July, fireworks blooming over the quad like defiant stars. Oliver knelt in the grass, ring box velvet against the summer dusk, a simple silver band engraved with multitudes. Marry me, Eli, he said, voice steady as his heartbeat under my palm. Not to fix anything, just to build. I said yes through sobs, the world writing itself in his arms. We planned small, civil ceremony in Champaign, then a backyard reception with friends from school. No family drama, no Elmwood ghosts. But Dad caught wine through a cousin's leak. His email arrived like a flare in the dark. I want to walk you down the aisle. Please. I stared at the screen, cursor blinking like a heartbeat. Forgiveness? Or trap? Oliver read over my shoulder. Your call. But don't go alone. I replied, okay, but no sermons. The wedding loomed, autumn leaves turning the campus gold. Rehearsal dinner at a farm-to-table spot, string lights twinkling like hesitant allies. Dad arrived in his best suit, tie crooked, eyes darting like he was casing the joint. Oliver greeted him with a firm handshake. Mr. Harper, glad you came. And I saw the flicker, respect warring with wariness. Dinner passed in stilted small talk. Crops, the Bears' lousy season, until Dad raised his glass. To new beginnings. His voice wobbled, but he held my gaze, and for a second, I glimpsed the man who'd taught me to fish at dawn, patient with tangled lines. That night, alone in our apartment, doubts clawed. What if he pulls something? I murmured, Oliver's arm's my only anchor. Then we face it, he said, kissing my temple. Together. Little did I know, the real storm was brewing in Dad's silence, secrets buried deeper than mine. The week before the wedding blurred into a frenzy of last-minute chaos. Seat charts scribbled on napkins, boutonnieres wilting in the fridge, Oliver's mom flying in from Seattle with her artist's eye and no-filter advice. Honey, if that man so much as quotes Leviticus, I'll quote him right back, with footnotes. She hugged me fierce, her acceptance a balm on old wounds. But Dad's presence loomed, a shadow at the edges. His motel room calls checking in like parole visits. Everything set? Need anything fixed? I wanted to believe the thaw. He'd sent a card weeks prior, scrawled in his blocky print. Proud of you, son. Even if I don't get it. It sat on my dresser, creased from rereads, a fragile bridge over the abyss. Rehearsal day dawned crisp, October sun gilding the chapel's stained glass, a non-denominational spot on campus, all modern lines and inclusive vibes, worlds from First Baptist's pews. Guests milled. Oliver's eclectic crew of art majors and baristas, my handful of college buds who'd stuck through the scandals. Dad arrived early, hands shoved in pockets, nodding awkwardly at the officiant, a soft-spoken woman named Lena with a rainbow pin on her lapel. Harlan, she said, extending a hand. Elijah's told me about you. Honored you're here. He shook it, mumbling, wouldn't miss it. But his eyes flicked to Oliver, appraising, like sizing up a faulty weld. The run-through was smooth, processional to acoustic hallelujah, vows exchanged with laughs when Oliver fumbled the rings. Dad stood at my side as best man, his insistence, a olive branch I couldn't refuse. Tradition, he'd said. When it was time for the father-son walk practice, he offered his arm, stiff as starched denim. Like old times, he asked, voice gruff. Yeah, I lied, throat tight. Old times. Him carrying me piggyback after Mom's funeral, promising he'd always be there. Now, his grip trembled, knuckles white. Dinner followed at the barn, a restored silo venue with exposed beams and mason jar lanterns. Laughter flowed freer with wine, toasts clinking like wind chimes. Oliver's sister, Miah, ribbed him about his prom tuxedo disaster. My roommate Jake. Yes, that Jake, who'd come out himself post-college, shared war stories from our dorm pranks. Dad sat quiet, fork pushing peas, but he chuckled at Jake's punchline, a rusty sound that eased the knot in my chest. After plates cleared, he cornered me by the dessert table, pie slice untouched. Can we talk? Outside. My pulse spiked. Now. Just 5 minutes. His eyes pleaded, raw as stripped wire. We stepped into the chill, gravel crunching under boots, stars pricking the velvet sky. He lit a cigarette, rare for him, a stress tell, and exhaled slow. I've been thinking, Eli, about that clinic. The prayers. All of it. I braced, arms crossed against the wind. Dad, if this is... No. He waved it off, smoke curling like regret. I was wrong. Dead wrong. Raised you to be strong, not to hide. But I hid my own stuff, too. My breath caught. What stuff? He stared at the horizon, fields black as ink. Your ma? She knew. Before the accident. I loved her fierce, but there was a part of me. Back in high school, a buddy. Tommy Ellis. We experimented, you know? Summer jobs at the mill. Thought it was just boys being boys. But it stuck, not at me. When I met Ellen, I buried it deep. Figured marriage fixed it. Kids fixed it. Church fixed it. The confession landed like a gut punch. Dad, stoic, straight arrow Harlan, carrying this shadow life? Why didn't you say? Fear, son. Shame. Elmwood don't forgive easy. And after she died, I doubled down, tried to be the dad she deserved for you. When you came out, it was like looking in a mirror. I panicked. Thought if I could fix you, I'd fix me. Tears pricked, hot, and unbidden. You don't need fixing, Dad. Neither do I. He stubbed the cigarette, grinding it fierce. I know that now. Too late, maybe. But seeing you with Oliver. He's good for you. Steady. Makes you light up like she used to. We stood there, two Harpers under indifferent stars, the chasm narrowing to a thread. I love you, he said, voice cracking. No conditions. I pulled him into a hug, his flannel rough against my cheek, the scent of tobacco and motor oil home. Love you too. Back inside, the mood lifted. He even danced with Miah to an old Springsteen tune, his steps wooden but earnest. Oliver caught my eye across the room, brow arched in question. I nodded, heart full. Maybe, just maybe, we'd turn the corner. Wedding eve, Oliver and I holed up in the apartment, fairy lights strung haphazard, pizza boxes open like offerings. We slow danced to First Day of My Life on vinyl, his chin on my shoulder. Tomorrow, he murmured. You and me, forever. Forever, I echoed, but sleep evaded, Dad's words replaying like a scratched record. Buried secrets, how many more? And what if his acceptance was fragile as frost? Dawn broke golden, the chapel blooming with sunflowers and ivy, our nod to Midwestern roots. I dressed in the side room, mirror reflecting a stranger. Charcoal suit tailored sharp, hair tamed, eyes bright with nerves and joy. Oliver texted a selfie from his prep spot. Bow tie askew, grin wicked. Can't wait to make it official, Harper Hayes. Guests filtered in. 60 souls, a tapestry of support. Professors who'd mentored us through coming-out essays. Neighbors from our building who'd hosted potlucks. Even Jake's partner, a burly ex-Marine with tattoos and teddy bear hugs. Dad arrived last, suit pressed, boutonniere pinned crooked. Ready? He asked, offering his arm. As I'll ever be. The processional swelled, violin weaving through canon in D. Miah walked first, scattering petals like confetti, then Oliver's mom, beaming. My turn, doors parting, aisle a gauntlet of smiles. Halfway down, eyes locked on Oliver at the altar, his suit emerald green, eyes shining like emeralds too. The world funneled to him, my North Star. Dad's grip tightened at the vows. Oliver's voice steady. Elijah, you taught me love isn't a fight. It's a choice, every damn day. Mine wobbled. Oliver, you're my multitudes, my safe harbor. I choose you always. Rings exchanged, kiss sealing it. Soft, sure, cheers erupting like fireworks. Recessional joy, photos in the garden. Us tangled in laughter, cake smeared on noses. Reception kicked off in the chapel hall. Hay bales for seats, mason jars brimming cider. Speeches flowed. Mia's roast on Oliver's cooking fails. Jake's toast to brothers in arms, on and off the field. Then Dad's turn. He stood, microphone trembling, face flushed under the lights. The room hushed, tension coiling. Would he bless or break? Folks, he started, voice gravelly. I ain't much for words. Fix cars better than speeches. Scattered chuckles, but eyes wary. He cleared his throat, gaze on me and Oliver, hands linked at our table. Elijah's my boy. Only family I got left worth a damn. Raised him to be honest, hard-working, like his ma wanted. Pause, sip of water. But I failed him. Big time. When he told me who he is, loved who he is, I tried to change it. Fix it, like a busted alternator. Sent him to camps, shrinks, prayers. Thought I was saving him from hell. His voice cracked, eyes glistening. Truth? I was saving myself. Gasps rippled, subtle, but there. I froze, Oliver's hand squeezing mine. See, I got secrets too. Back when dinosaurs roamed. High school. I loved a boy. Tommy. We worked summers, shared smokes and dreams. It scared me spitless. Buried it when I met Ellen. Built this life on straight-laced lies. After she passed, I clung harder. Church, work, you name it. When Eli came out, it was like God holding up a mirror. Harlan, look what you done to yourself. I panicked. Outsourced my hate to him. Tears now, his handkerchief a white flag. That email I sent. To the pastor? With Eli's letters? Lowest thing I ever did. Exposed my son's heart to judgment, 'cause I couldn't face my own. Ruined friendships, hurt this good man beside him. Nod to Oliver, who sat stunned. Oliver Hayes, sorry don't cut it, but you got my respect. For loving him when I wouldn't. He turned to us, voice breaking full. Eli, you're the best of us. Braver than me, truer. I tried to fix you 'cause I was broken. But watching you two today, that's the fix. Love like yours. It's the design, not the devil. I'm proud, God, so proud, to call you son. And you, Oliver, welcome to the family. No takebacks. He stepped down, applause thunderous but laced with sobs, tears from strangers, hugs from skeptics. Miah wiped her eyes. Even Lena dabbed discreetly. Oliver pulled Dad into a bear hug, whispering thanks. Me? I stood, crossing to him, our embrace a dam breaking. Forgiveness, fierce and final. But as cake cut and dances swirled, a whisper nagged. Dad's eyes, distant in the crowd. Secrets buried deep. How deep? The night spun on, but under the joy, fault lines hummed. The reception blurred into a kaleidoscope of toasts and twirls, fairy lights haloing faces flushed with emotion. Oliver and I stole moments on the makeshift dance floor, his hand at my waist, my head on his shoulder, swaying to Wonderwall as if Oasis had written it for fractured families mending. Dad held court at a corner table, surrounded by Oliver's artsy friends peppering him with gentle questions. Ever fixed a vintage Harley? What's the wildest story from the shop? His laughs came easier, bark turning to warmth, but I caught him glancing at his watch, a tick from anxious nights. Think he's okay? I murmured to Oliver during our first spin. He's processing, Oliver said, spinning me out with a grin. Give the man grace. He just outed his high school crush to 60 strangers. Grace. I'd begged for it from him. Now it's circled back, bittersweet. We cut the cake, vanilla with lavender frosting, Oliver's pick, smashing forkfuls with laughter, guests cheering as icing dotted noses. Miah snapped candids, promising no filters, just real. Jake pulled Dad onto the floor for a clumsy two-step, the ex-quarterback and the mechanic bonding over bad knees and worse jokes. Yet under the revelry, unease simmered. During the bouquet toss, Oliver winging it with a wild throw that nearly clocked his mom. Dad slipped out for air. I followed, weaving through clusters of well-wishers murmuring, that speech. Wow. Outside, the air nipped crisp, bonfire smoke from a nearby pit curling lazy. He leaned on the chapel railing, phone in hand, screen glow etching worry lines. Dad, he startled, pocketing it quick. Just checking the shop. Storm warning. Elmwood was 2 hours north. No storm there. Everything all right. Fine, son. Go enjoy. But his smile didn't reach a crack in the facade. I let it slide, chalking it to wedding jitters. The night peaked with our first dance, The Luckiest by Ben Folds, lyrics wrapping us like a vow renewed. I don't get many things right the first time, but you're the exception. Oliver's eyes locked on mine, the room fading to just us, heartbeats sinking in the hush. Applause swelled as we dipped, but in that vulnerability, I glimpsed Dad in the shadows, clapping slow, face unreadable. Honeymoon plans whispered, a cabin in the Smokies, 2 weeks of hikes and no cell service, escaping the Heartland's pull. Just you, me, and bad trail mix, Oliver teased, but his grip tightened, as if sensing the undercurrent. We crashed late, apartment strewn with rice and ribbons, collapsing into bed with sighs and sighs. Married, he breathed, ring glinting in moonlight. Feels like a dream. Nightmare's over, I said, kissing his knuckles. But sleep brought fragments. Dad's confession, Tommy's ghost, that phone call. Monday dawned domestic. Laundry, thank yous, the quiet thrill of husband on our tongues. Dad called mid-morning, voice buoyant. Coffee? My treat. Neutral ground, Perkins and champagne. Oliver arched a brow over his sketchpad. Go. Bond. I'll tackle the dishes. Perkins was fluorescent familiarity. Pie under glass, waitresses calling you Han. Dad slid into the booth, menu up like a shield. Black coffee, 2 sugars, he ordered then. How's the miss, mister? I laughed, tension easing. Good. Great. Speech last night. Dad, that was everything. He stirred slow, spoon clinking. Had to. For you. Pause. And me. Cleared the air, you know? We talked easy, wedding highlights, Oliver's latest mural gig, the shop's new apprentice flubbing oil changes. But his eyes darted to the window, trucks rumbling past. Dad, the phone last night. Client emergency. Quick, too quick. Nothing. I nodded, but doubt lingered like burnt toast. Days blurred. Job hunts. Me interviewing for graphic design at a local firm. Oliver freelancing. Grocery runs hand in hand. Evenings cooking chili while arguing succession plots. Bliss, punctuated by Dad's check-ins, texts with dad joke emojis, an invite to Bears watch parties. He even asked Oliver for art tips. That mural in town, yours? Looks like Picasso on a bender. Progress. But 2 weeks post-wedding, the call came shattering it all. I was at a client meeting when my phone buzzed. Unknown number, voicemail waiting. Dad's voice ragged. Eli? Hospital. Peoria. Don't tell Oliver yet. Just. Come. Heart in throat. I raced north. I-70 for a blur of semis and dread. Peoria, General loomed sterile, ER buzzing with fluorescent urgency. Dad waited in a curtained bay, hooked to monitors, face ashen under the gown. Heart, he grunted as I burst in. Mild attack. Docs say stress. Stress. I gripped the rail, knuckles white. From what? He averted eyes. Work. Age. Lie. Thick as the antiseptic sting. The cardiologist, Dr. Nguyen, pulled me aside. Family history? He's stable, but needs rest. And honesty, whatever triggered this, address it. Back in the bay, I pressed. Dad, talk. No more burying. He sighed, deflating. That night. Phone was Tommy. Found him on Facebook months back. Curiosity, you know? We messaged, innocent. Then more. Met for coffee last week, here in Peoria. Neutral. But seeing him. Stirred it up. Guilt hit like a freight train. Tommy. Alive, real. You reconnected? With him? Not like that. Defensive. Closure. But yeah, feelings. And fear. Of you knowing. Judging. Judging. The irony burned. After your speech? Dad, I get it. But hiding? It's killing you. Tears tracked his stubble. Promised your ma I'd be the rock. Can't crack now. You're human, I said, squeezing his hand. Call Oliver. We're family. He nodded, exhausted. I texted Oliver en route home. Dad's okay. Minor health scare. With him. His reply. On my way. Love you both. That night, the three of us crammed in the hospital room. Oliver sketching idly on a napkin to ease the weight. Dad dozing under sedation, monitors beeping steady. This the betrayal? Oliver whispered, head on my shoulder. No, I said. The healing. Discharge brought Dad to our couch. Insistence on not alone. Days of soup and sitcoms. Oliver playing nurse with wry charm. More jello, Harlan? It's the gateway to pudding. Dad grumbled but softened, sharing war stories from Nam-era shop tales. Oliver countering with Chicago grit. One evening, fire crackling in our thrift store grate, Dad broached it. Tommy and me. We're seeing a counselor. Together. Old wounds. Pride swelled. Good. Deserve that. He eyed us, rings glinting. You two make it look easy. It's not, Oliver said. But worth it. The real storm hit Friday, rain lashing windows like accusations. Dad's phone rang, Tommy's name flashing. He answered in the kitchen, voice low, but walls thin. No, Harlan, you can't just, after all this? Hurt, sharp as shattered glass. I eavesdropped, heart sinking. Oliver caught me, pulling back. Let him. But when Dad emerged, face thunderous, truth spilled. Tommy wants more. Lunch turns to expectations. I said no, I'm not that man anymore. But he accused me of using him for nostalgia, then bailed. Blocked me. Betrayal's echo. Dad. He was right. Dad sank to the armchair, head in hands. I reopened the door, peeked in, then slammed it. Coward again. Oliver knelt, eye level. Not coward. Human. Takes guts to try. We talked till midnight. Dad unpacking decades. Missed chances, internalized hate. The conversion groups he'd attended post-mom. Silent sufferer. Thought if I endured, it'd pass. Like a flu. It doesn't, I said. It integrates. His eyes met mine, mirrors. Like you taught me. Healing's messy, though. Dad returned to Elmwood. Shop humming, but calls grew sporadic. Whispers from town. Pastor Reynolds' sermons veering, traditional marriage, sidelong glances at the garage. Dad texted, holding steady. Love you boys. Thanksgiving loomed. Our first as husbands. Invite extended. Come home. All of us. Oliver hesitated. Your call. We go, I said. Show him. Elmwood greeted with harvest flags and chill winds. Dad's house smelled of turkey and pie. Aunts bustling. Uncle's grumbling football. Tension hummed. Aunt Rita's tight smile. Uncle Cal's averted eyes. But Dad stood firm, carving knife steady. Elijah and Oliver, my sons. Pass the gravy. Grace said over rainbowed plates. Pastor absent. Dad's doing. Conversation skirted edges, but Oliver's charm disarmed. Tales of Chicago blizzards. Art walks in Pilsen. By pie, laughter bridged gaps. Even Aunt Rita asked about our honeymoon hikes. Night fell, fireflies sparse in November cold. Dad pulled us to the porch, beers in hand. Thanks for coming. Means everything. Family, Oliver toasted. But as stars wheeled, a car crunched gravel. Pastor Reynolds, uninvited, Bible tucked under arm like a weapon. Harlan, word in the wind. Your speech, folks talking. Need to pray this through. Dad's jaw set. Not tonight, Mark. Go home. The pastor's eyes flicked to us, disdain veiled. For your soul. And theirs. Out. Dad's voice steel. My house, my rules. Love wins here. Reynolds left sputtering, taillights fading. We sat stunned. Then Oliver hooped, clapping Dad's back. Damn, Harlan. Pride burned bright. But seeds of doubt. How long could one man hold against the town's tide? Winter deepened, snow blanketing fields like forgiveness. Oliver and I thrived. My design job panning out, his murals dotting Champagne's alleys. Dad visited monthly, bearing pie and progress. Tommy and me, friends now. Coffee, no strings. Then, spring thaw. A letter arrived, First Baptist letterhead. Dad forwarded it. Terse, read. Then decide. Expulsion notice, subtle, cloaked in doctrinal misalignment. For his public endorsement of unnatural unions. Church board, pastor leading charge. Rage boiled. They can't. They can, Dad replied, voice weary over speaker. Been coming. Sermons shifting since my speech. Oliver paced. Fight it. Lawyer up. Dad chuckled sad. Nah. Time for a new congregation. Or none. The betrayal stung collective. Town's judgment. Once mine alone, now his. I drove north that weekend, Oliver beside, finding Dad in the garage, wrench in hand, radio crooning Willie Nelson. Hate to see you go, I said, hugging him grease-smeared. Not going far. He grinned. Starting a potluck group. Harpers and hayseeds. Queer-friendly, pie required. Laughter broke the dam, but tears followed. Proud of you. Mutual, kid. Summer brought bloom. Our first anniversary, lake picnic echoing that first kiss. Fireflies danced, Oliver's head in my lap. Think he'll find peace. He will, I said. We all will. But peace fractures. August heat wave, Dad's call. Shops closing. Economy, they say. But Tommy's back in town. Visiting. Complicated. Complicated. The word hung, prelude to storm. The heat wave baked Elmwood into a simmer, asphalt shimmering like mirages of escape. Oliver and I drove up that weekend, AC blasting indie folk to drown the dread. Dad's texts had escalated. Tommy in from Florida. Old-time sake. Then, need advice. Neutral, but laced with the vulnerability of a man tiptoeing on ice. We found him at the kitchen table, fan whirring futile, a half-empty pitcher of iced tea sweating rings on coasters. Boys, he greeted, standing for hugs, looser now, less guarded. Tommy sat across, silver-haired but sharp-eyed, a retired teacher with laugh lines etched deep. Elijah, Oliver, heard the tales. Harlan, don't shut up about you. Handshakes exchanged, awkward but warm. Lunch stretched, BLTs with garden tomatoes, talk meandering from high school hijinks to Tommy's life post-divorce, his own coming out at 50, daughter who'd stood by him fierce. Took years, he said, eyeing Dad. But worth the wait. Dad nodded, but his fork toyed with chips, evasion in the clink. After, Oliver volunteered dishes, leaving us three in the living room. Photos of Mom on mantle, her smile a silent witness. Spill, I said. What's really up? Dad sighed, rubbing neck. Tommy's here a week, staying at the motel. We talked a lot about what could have been. Tommy leaned forward. No pressure, Harlan. But seeing you, strong, open, stirs things. If you're game. Dad's eyes met mine, plea and panic. I am. Kinda. But Eli, your mom, feels like cheating her ghost. The room tilted. Betrayal specter, not anger, but grief's twist. Dad, she loved you, all of you. This isn't cheating, it's living. He deflated, scared of messing up again. Tommy's hand covered his, gentle. We go slow. Coffee dates, walks. See what fits. Oliver re-entered, drying hands, sensing the charge. Whatever you need, Harlan. We're here. That night, motel drop-off. Dad and Tommy lingering by the truck, shoulders brushing. Call if you need backup, I said, hugging him tight. Will do. His grin boyish, reborn. The drive home buzzed with talk. Think it'll stick? Oliver asked, hand on my thigh. Hope so. He deserves joy. But joy's fragile in heartland soil. Days later, the crash. Aunt Rita's call, hysterical. Harlan's in the hospital, again. Wreck. Tommy's truck. Pulse roaring. We floored it north. Rain slicking roads like tears. ER waited. Dad bandaged. Ribs cracked. Concussion mild. Tommy unscathed but shaken. Blame in his eyes. Deer jumped out. Dad mumbled, morphine slurring. My fault, swerved wrong. Tommy paced. Bull. You were distracted, talking futures. Panicked when I said move in. Truth cracked open. Dad's flight response. Pedal floored into fate. Couldn't breathe, he admitted later, in the room's dim. All I saw was losing you boys, like I lost her. Oliver sat bedside, steady. You didn't lose us. But running? That's the real wreck. Guilt gnawed Dad raw. Tommy left this morning. Floored about. Said I need to sort my head. Betrayal layered. Self-sabotage, the cruelest kind. Call him back, I urged. Fight for it. He shook head. Too old for drama. Weeks healed bones, but not hearts. Dad sold the shop, retirement fund slim, but freedom calling. He moved south, a condo in Springfield, closer to progressive pockets. Visits became rituals. Brunches with mimosas, hikes where he'd quiz Oliver on baseball stats, me on design trends. Fall foliage turned, anniversary of the wedding. We hosted leaf-peeping drive to Starved Rock. Trails wound canyons, rivers murmuring secrets. At Devil's Kettle Overlook, Dad pulled envelopes, letters sealed. For you, he said, handing one to me, one to Oliver. From the heart. Mine. Pages of regret and redemption. Apologies for the clinic, the email, the years of silence. Pride in my courage. Echoes of Mom's belief in love unbound. You fixed me, son. Not the other way round. Oliver's. Invitation, gruff. Your family. Teach an old dog sketching. Tears fell. Canyon winds carrying them. Hugs fierce, unbreakable. Winter brought quiet revolutions. Dad joined a local PFLAG chapter. Speaking halting at meetings. Lost my way once. Won't again. Tommy circled back. Emails tentative. Then calls. A visit in spring. Slow, as promised. Dinners, drives, hands held under tables. Our lives wove richer. Oliver's gallery show, my promotion, Dad's first date story over FaceTime. Nervous as a cat in a room full of rockers. Laughter bridged miles. Climax crested that June, pride in Springfield. Dad insisted. All in. We marched, rainbows aloft, his flannel swapped for a love wins tee. Tommy at his side, arm-linked proud. Chants rose. We're here, we're queer. Strangers cheered, but eyes from Elmwood faces in the crowd. Pastor Reynolds, averted. Aunt Rita, waving tentative. After, beers at a rooftop bar, city lights sprawling like possibilities. Dad raised glass. To rethinking. Life's too short for fixes. To us. Oliver added, kissing my cheek. Humanity's arc bent gentle that night. Not erasure of pain, but integration. Scars remained. Misunderstandings echoes, secrets ghosts. But they mapped growth, not graves. Years folded. Dad and Tommy's commitment ceremony. Backyard simple, us officiating. Vows like yours, Dad said, rings slipping steady. Elmwood softened gradual. Aunt Rita at pride. Uncle Cal's grumbled, live and let. church splintering to inclusive offshoots. Oliver and I built. Home with a studio, garden stubborn but thriving, kids someday. Adopted, loved fierce. Dad visited, stories for grandkids. Your papa fixed cars and hearts. In quiet moments, lake docks at dusk, Oliver's hand in mine. I reflect. Love's no fairy tale, but a forge, dramatic, wrenching, refining. Dad's words at our wedding? Catalyst, not end. They made us cry. Yes, fury at the pain, empathy for the path. But mostly, they made us rethink, not fixing, but embracing. In America's vast, flawed heart, that's the real design. And in that, we found our multitudes, whole, unbroken, eternally chosen.